come a little closer and lend me your ears. Don't worry, you keep yours while I keep mine.
In each episode, we'll dig into the major stories, uncover the truth, and retrieve gems from Yada's blog.
We'll discuss what's right, bark about what's wrong, wag our tails at the thrill of discovery, and take you on adventures through the exciting world we live in today. So, fasten your curiosity leash and get ready.
Right then, coming to you with another episode of the Yada's Vlog on a Blog. Tomorrow's news, disseminated today. Let's dive in.
Hey, welcome. And we have Dr. Jeff with us on the Vlog on the Blog. Great pleasure to have you with us. Hello, Kevin. How are you this fine morning?
Morning.
Good morning. I'm well.
Oh, good. Well, we're going to start just going through the items in the blog, see how many we can cover in our allotted time today, which seems to be fairly elastic anyway. I look at this picture and I'm just always so amazed at the numbskulls that would call themselves Christians. And the first is that why is it that Jeebus has a Roman nose? Why does it look like he is all pasty white and just came out of the shower? Why is he younger than his mother? In fact, it looks like he is hugging his daughter. Why did they name him Jesus when there is no person named Jesus that it can be associated with the Hebrews or with Yahudah in the first century? In fact, the name Jesus didn't even exist in any language until the 17th century. So why do they call him Jesus? Why do they give him the name of Mr. Christ when that's not a Hebrew title? Couldn't have had nothing to do with anything that had been predicted in the past. So just assigning him, you must be the Mr. Christ, is absolutely absurd. Why did they claim that she was a virgin? Why did they name her Mary when that's the worst single name you can give somebody in the Hebrew language? Why did they do any of these things? I mean, why did they make up Jesus in the first place? Because there was no such individual. It's all a lie. No Jesus, no virgin birth. The Son of God is actually Dode, and he was redeployed by actual parents, and those parents are announced in the Torah and prophets. Ruth says, I am your productive mother. I will deliver to you, Boaz, the kinsman redeemer. What part of that people don't understand?
Yeah, I can't believe that. Well, this one says she's born to a sinless virgin. Sinless, right?
Sinless.
Perfect. Virgin. Yes.
Perfect. Uh-huh.
Perfect. Uh-huh.
It's
where are you going to find one of those? Yeah, where are you going to find one of those? God himself's not perfect.
No, it's
And you're going to have a creation, part of his creation that's perfect. What does perfect even mean? It's a complete and utter ridiculous statement. If we were to have perfect people, if that would be desirable, then there'd be no point in having any more than one of us, because we'd all be clones.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, there'd be no function of having any more than one of us if we were perfect.
Yeah.
Two of us as the same and thus as perfect would be so boring you'd crawl. You'd go. This is not life. This is miserable. This would be like talking into a mirror forever if everybody was perfect.
this replacement philology, as you like to categorize it, as the mythical misnomer, and just looking at the photo, it reeks of anti-Yehudism.
It does.
It is repulsive and disgusting, and it's outrageous, based on pagan lies.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, 90% of what is proposed regarding Jesus was stolen from King Daud, because God says he's the chosen one. He's the one that was born in Bethlehem. He's the one who was the shepherd. He was the one who was king. He is the one who is returning. He is the one that God said, he is my son, I am his father. He's the one that God said is the savior. and called him the Messiah on 3 occasions. And so it is, and it's Dowd who actually fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. And so, about 90% of the lie is based just on stealing Dowd's identity and his achievements. And since Dowd is the person that God says is my firstborn, my beloved son, stealing the attributes and accomplishments of God's son is about the most reprehensible thing you can do. And that makes Christianity a disgusting and reprehensible religion. But the 10% that isn't from thievery, from counterfeit, it comes from Dionysus. The fact that God became a man is Dionysus. It's purely pagan. The fact that God was killed is Dionysus. The resurrection, the bodily resurrection, is Dionysus. The birthday on Christmas Day, which was back then was the winter solstice, and the conception 9 months earlier on the vernal equinox, all pagan. So it's a blend of paganism, including the trilogy was paganism, with baptism was paganism, with thievery, identity theft. It's a deplorable religion, and it has suckered in 2.5 billion people today, and it is not a victimless crime because it has dehumanized and demonized God's people, Jews, for 18 centuries. It is reprehensible for all those people who call themselves Christians, who promote Christianity. You should be ashamed of yourself. God hates your religion, and if you're promoting it, he hates you.
This lie is the most malignant foisted upon humanity, and has resulted persecution, destruction, and annihilation of Jews and Yehudim from millennia. And truth be told, it was a Jew by the name of Shaul who's responsible for propagating this lie and this myth. And
between 52 and 66 CE, he wrote the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament were all written by Paul, and the next 3 were written about by Paul's posse. Mark, Luke, and Act were written by Paul's propagandists, and it was all a deliberate fraud by a man who admitted he was demon possessed.
Yeah. And as we like to say, when you look at the Olympics between Shaul and Muhammad, I think Shaul gets the gold medal, and Muhammad may get the silver medal.
For worst man of all time. Yeah, I've long said that the worst 2 humans who ever lived were Paul and Muhammad, and I think in that order. If God had a hall of shame and were to list the worst humans of all time, they would be the worst 2.
Yeah. Well,
although
Rahab's doing his best.
Right now, there's going to be a really, really close race for pole position because there's a third who has joined them.
Yeah.
Rahab. Donald Trump.
Give him time. He's not done yet. Give him time,
man.
Right?
He's over the next 7 years, he's going to earn, I think, the pole position and nudge out the other 2. Plato occasionally says that the man who refuses to participate in politics is a fool because you'll be governed by your inferiors. I don't participate in politics. I'm not governed by anyone, including my inferiors. So, Plato and all of these guys were wrong all of the time. It's amazing that they are seen and venerated so highly. When they promoted absurd religious ideas, they were all Gnostics. And Gnosticism is the religion of Paul that permeates the Bible. And it's, about imaginary worlds and this world being horrible, but the imaginary world was perfect. It's just absurd. And they pursued the Greek mythologies. And so they were wrong about most everything. including this one. And governance during even 90+% of the Greek experience was not glorious and democratic. In fact, it was never actually democratic. It was an oligarch. And when it was an oligarchy, it was maniacal. They imposed their oligarchical system on neighboring islands, not for the benefit of those islands, but for them to serve as tripwires so that they knew when the Persians were coming. And it was only for a very brief time, for the Greeks anyway, and only in one place, in Athens. And for a very brief period of time, there was an oligarchy there. And even during that time, the leader was called a king. And so that wasn't the birthplace of democracy. And the most oligarchic community by a long shot were the Spartans. And they held on to, and it was for their entire kingdom. And they held on to the oligarchical structure for longer than anyone else. And there probably wasn't a worse culture in the region. Yeah. They were exceedingly hostile to women. Women had no rights. They treated their own sons as if they were lab experiments. And they enslaved all of their neighbors because they didn't want to be bothered with any work other than mass killing. Mm-hmm. So that was the longest lived oligarchies. I mean, people just have no clue as to what they're dealing with when they talk about democracy being a good. It isn't. And oligarchy had a chance of survival because it was only those who were net contributors to the society that got to vote on the matters of who we go to war with, when we go to war, what we invest in, where we spend our money, how much money do we take from one another. And it was only net contributors. When you change the system so that those who are not productive can rob those who are productive, you are certain to destroy it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have as a democracy. So it's a very broken system. And I don't know why people talk about it as being a net value, because it isn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to say that the average American, for example, for what it's worth, doesn't even know what the difference is between a democracy and a republic.
Correct.
And when has democracy ever been a force or power for good? Ever?
Yeah. Yeah. And the Roman Senate for a while was considered a republic, and that America is based upon that. That's why we have a Senate. That's why we have a place called Capitol Hill, even though it's not a hill, but Capitol Hill. That is why the symbol is the eagle. That's why Trump stands behind an eagle when on his rostrum, and that's why the buildings are all Romanesque in their styling. The issue with the Roman Republic is that it was only a republic of a tiny fraction of 1%. It was only one class of people that could vote. And everybody else was stuck in any one of some 40 different castes. The Romans had the most unpenetrable and most rigorous caste system of any nation, and every nation, without exception, had a caste system. And the caste system, the slave was at the bottom of the caste system, but nobody on that caste system had any rights. Mm-hmm. And the Roman Republic experiment was only the upper class, the lords, the landowners, being able to vote, and no one else. And even then, they would vote for, in many cases, a dictator over them. The Roman Republic didn't last very long, and it quickly became the Roman Empire, run by emperors who claimed to be God, and that the Senate became a meaningless body. So even in that, a republic it has no value either, because you have wholly unqualified, uneducated, irrational people who are grossly immoral, voting for things that they have no business voting for because they don't understand them. Young people today are largely Marxist just because they're ignorant. They're just absolutely flat out ignorant. It's the only reason you can be a Marxist, and yet they are. You've got 38% of Americans supporting Donald Trump, who is Satan incarnate.
Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is not a functional system. Our educational processes are way too inadequate regarding history, regarding economics, regarding business, which is the thing that drives the whole machine, for people to be voting to redistribute wealth. It's a completely destructive and horrible system. And I'm sorry, Plato was flat out wrong. What we all should be is opposed to it.
Yes. As Yah is.
As Yah is, yeah.
And what you mentioned now, which really cuts to the chase here, is that Rahab, aka the Copper Confabulator, has the highest rating in Israel at this time.
Yeah, 78%. 38% in America, 78% in Israel. It's astonishing that people can support a man that's that overtly evil, and destructive.
It's basically, to me, a form of a brain disease.
Right. And what choice do you have in America right now? I mean, if you're an American, you've got Marxists on one side and MAGAs on the other. What kind of a choice is that?
Well, they came together last night at the Knicks game, and I don't know if you saw, Trump fell asleep in the middle of the game.
Yeah, well, he has a tendency to do that, but let's not wake him. So sleeping Trump is the best Trump there is, unfortunately. He got resolutely booed. You'd think after a while he'd get tired of getting booed, but maybe not.
Oh.
This is an interesting bit. The part that I liked about it is he's talking about this Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart, by the way, does not look like Jon Stewart when Jon Stewart is broadcasting from home. You can tell the studio lights and the makeup team work that man over. I have wardrobe and makeup and wardrobe here too. I go into the closet and say, what shirt haven't I worn in a while? Okay, I'll try that one. And then you take some water and you run your hands under it and push your hair back and say, all right, that'll take care of that. That's makeup and wardrobe. He doesn't have it at home.
Guys,
I loan him mine. My technique. It takes every bit of about 15 seconds.
The old adage: a little powder, a little paint makes you look like what you ain't.
Yeah, which ain't. Well, yeah, don't try any of that. I did the television circuit for a long time back in the day, and during the television circuit, because of the bright lights and everything, they always made you up. You were always made up, and it was so weird to have all these women around you putting makeup on your face, and the powder and the creams and everything else, so that you didn't glow like a light bulb. But I haven't done that in a very, very long time. So I'm glad that what we've come up with, I think, is just better cameras for the most part. And even though I've got 10 lights surrounding this to make it as a professional looking studio as we can, the fact is that he has very harsh light on what he's doing. That's not what we talked about. That's not why I picked this thing up. He had was talking about AI and the business of AI and his big concern. If you can go up just a little bit, and I'll be able to read what I posted on this. And as he was talking about it, he said that there was a New York Times interview of Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is the Palantir founder, and he is the guy that has the AI for the military and for spying on Americans. I mean, he's a really clandestine guy, and he's ubiquitous too in social media. He was the initial investor in Facebook with Zuckerberg. So he has an influence and a benefit of collecting data from Facebook. He was the original financial partner of Elon Musk. Elon Musk began his financial career with a company he partnered with Peter Thiel called PayPal. And Peter Thiel was actually the brains behind it, but that's how he made his money to parlay it into Tesla and the rest we know. But it was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel was the Elon Musk of Trump's election in Trump 45. He was the one who gave the keynote speech that said, we're all for it, and became the endorsement from the tech oligarchs and the stamp of approval from the ultra rich for Trump. It was Peter Thiel, and it was Peter Thiel's money. And having done that, he managed to get all manner of government contracts, particularly with the U.S. military, for his ability to spy and collect data on all of us. The really clandestine man. So then a New York Times journalist was interviewing him. And the first question he asked Peter Thiel says, "You want the human race to endure, don't you?"
Wow.
No, the wow is what I'm doing now. He didn't answer the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the New York Times interviewer finally had to say, that's an interminable pause there. Your silence speaks. And he says, well, there's just too much to unpack in your question. And he is one of the major AI developers, and his is the most clandestine of all of the AIs. You want the human race to endure, don't you?
Wow.
No answer. So the problem with AI is many, but the biggest problem of AI is the clowns that are coordinating it, that own it, and their lack of morality.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too off in the weeds with this one, but the technocrats really have this idea that technology is their new god, and they are going to figure out how to transfer consciousness into technology. That is their absolute end game goal for man to live forever. They just don't understand the neshama. They can't comprehend a neshama, or an Nefesh for that matter. And Nefesh is the easy one.
And so few people have a functioning neshama.
There you go.
Or have made the old-time investment in research. And since the last two generations have been indoctrinated and have too many crutches, the internet for searches and answers for everything, and now AI to write term papers and to take tests and do everything for them. In fact, it's a closed loop right now. The students do their papers using AI, and the professor uses AI to grade them. So it's a closed loop of indoctrination. I think I'm the last generation to do what I have done over these last 25 years in creating the Yada Yawa series of 38 books that are published on the site, over 40 total, ranging up where it's now of 30,000 pages of proprietary translations and analysis and insights, pushing human knowledge of God beyond where it has ever been by a huge magnitude. I don't think it'll ever be, in fact, I know it'll never be duplicated, and it's never been done before. And it can't be done today by anyone because they're too reliant on AI. And AI, at the very best, if particularly trained to do it, can offer an affirmation of what I have discovered. It can look at the logic of it, and it can affirm that yes, the reasoning is sound, the translations are accurate, the conclusions are unheralded and profoundly important, but stunningly unpopular. But it can't come to those conclusions. It can't draw those conclusions. And it isn't even capable of recognizing that based upon those conclusions, that religions are all wrong, that politics is all wrong, that the norms of society are caustic and counterproductive. It can't go there. And so on subjects that a person like myself is an expert in, we can outthink AI all day, every day. And it can't even come close to competing. It can just nip around the edges. So it's a tragic thing that it has done, and I'm glad that it's going to only have a 7-year run from this point on.
What you're saying is absolutely key and profound. Functional Nasama.
Yeah,
Functional Nasama. And these same individuals have, I think they have diseased souls as well.
Yeah, I think that that the developers of it do not have a functional Nasama. I mean, we are of course exposed to Elon Musk because of his X account, and it's clear he does not have a functional conscience. It's completely gone. He has no empathy. He has no judgment. His character stinks. And what I've seen thus far in Ellison and Zuckerberg and Bezos and what we saw and Bill Gates, they don't have it either.
This is one Dr. Jeff and I were talking about before we came on, the Talmud.
Yeah. And what they always cite from the Talmud is untrue. The Talmud doesn't say those things.
Exactly.
And what they now do is that they take and say this is a quotation from the Talmud. Now not a single one of those is documented. This is the antithesis of what I did, and now Goddamn Religion, or in Twistianity, where I have 10 volumes of precise documentation where every quote is not only documented specifically as to where it came from, it's cross-reference on what it was trying to cite, and that is quoted accurately and also documented. But the translations are also verified. And in this case, they don't talk about this being a translation, and they don't provide any documentation, and it isn't even accurate.
There's no site.
And then because of the nature of social media, some other idiot will take this as being the truth, and they will double down on it. So you have idiot on top of idiot being idiots. And what's particularly idiotic about this is that the moronic culture of Facebook not only allows this toxic, racist, anti-Semite to spew this nonsense, they promote it.
Yeah.
They promote it. This is why social media is cancerous. All of them.
And yet, if you question it and set the record straight, you will be penalized and accused.
Correct. They throttle your account. Yeah, it's what I figured out very early on with social media, is that if you're going to question, not just question, refute idiots like this, who are absolutely and totally lying and misrepresenting the truth to demonize a group of people. And if you point out that they are wrong, your account is throttled while theirs is promoted.
I will say, both Craig and Kevin, that with this piece of manure, and I don't mean to insult manure, has done and is doing, is tantamount to a modern day blood libel. We know about, we've spoken about, Jews using the blood of Christian children to make matzah for Passover. Well, this is a modern day version of
Mm-hmm.
accusing the rabbis and Jews of doing
Yes.
what is stated here, and it's totally untrue. Now, no one, well, not too many people have more against the rabbis and the Talmud
Then we do.
I or we.
Yes.
But let's be real here. Let's be truthful. This is just pure out.
Yeah.
I would call it a blood libel and terrible conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other part of it is, if you want to have a book that says kill everybody,
Quran, go for
it's
the Quran.
It's the Quran. Read the damn Quran. And the Quran exists because of the Talmud. If there was no Babylonian Talmud, there'd be no Quran, because the Quran is comprised of Talmud stories that rabbis sold to Muhammad. That is the essence of the Quran. And the Quran then goes from there to be a hate document that calls for the genocide of all humankind. And this piece of trash doesn't know that.
Paul came out of the rabbinic school, right? Paul was the first one to call it. He studied Talmud. He learned how to argue and how to steal stuff.
If it wasn't for
from
the
Torah,
rabbis,
from the Talmud.
there wouldn't be, Paul wouldn't exist. And if Paul doesn't exist, there's no Christianity.
Yeah,
this piece of shit doesn't know that either.
He doesn't. Yeah. As the story goes,
It's a really nice vest you have there. You really seem very professional in your vest. So kudos for the hairstyle and the vest there, pal.
Paul sat at the feet of the sage named Gamliel, right? Yeah.
Claimed to be the best of the rabbis, not just a rabbi. He claimed to be the best of the rabbi at the time that Gamaliel and the other Jews weren't even using the term. He is the first ever recorded using the term. And then he uses the style of the Talmudic argument to present his mythical Jesus against Yahweh and Yahweh's testimony, where he never once, just like this moron, never once quotes God accurately, never documents a single quote, and never cites God accurately once. That's how Paul created the New Testament. Never documented a citation, just like this moron, and never quoted it accurately a single time, just like this moron. That's how your religion of Christianity was created.
It's terrible that these Jews lit the spark for what, has engulfed them.
Yes. Butterfly tribe. Go to hell, pal.
Oi.
Herod. Oi.
Herod's wall. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's see. Herod was not even a Jew. He built everything for his own self-aggrandizement. He tormented Jews on behalf of Rome, and he built that damn wall. And yet you're going to pray to the stones in that wall. And I'm here to tell you that a man who prays to stones, he is no smarter than the stones to whom he prays.
We knew another religion that started out.
It's so nice. Look at the little head coverings, and you have to wear the head covering because the stones need reverence. And if you're not reverence to the stones with either a kippah or the black hat of the Haredi or the shawl over your head, then you're not being reverent to those stones. And this is a holy stone.
Yeah, there's another religion.
And the Kaaba's got nothing over this. I mean, sure, the Kaaba was a rock pile to rock gods, and still is a rock pile to rock gods. But here the Jews are right there, praying to the stones.
And you have the triple W's watching over you, the wall watching weasels.
The wall watching weasels. No, are we watching the weasels?
I mean, what the sad thing is, and I discussed this the other day with Kevin, is in the 6 Days War, the moment the Israelis captured Yah's real estate, most important site in the world, they, of their own accord, and perhaps with a little pressure from the United States, Moshe Dayan, gave it right back. When
Moshe Dayan was scum.
Yes,
And by the way, so was the prime minister at the time. I know that Golda Meir is considered a iron lady, and they love her quotes and everything else. And she was wrong about everything. And
67.
she
It
was
was Levy Eshkol.
she, like all the rest of the leaders of the IDF, all of the leaders of the IDF, and all of the leaders of the Israeli government were communists. They were Marxists. They didn't give a crap about Yahweh or anything that had to do with his site. So they were just Marxists. And
They were Marxists. I
and
think
every leader in the IDF was a Marxist. That's part of the reason why the leadership in the IDF continues to be exceedingly liberal and misguided. That's why 9/11 happened, because the Marxists is not smart enough to know that the religion they're trying to partner with and embrace in Islam is wholly caustic to everything they believe in.
Absolutely.
And Marxism is stupefying. I mean, all religions are stupefying, but Marxism is particularly stupefying. Yeah. And that was the problem with Moshe Dayan, the problem with Golda Meir. It was the problem with all of the original founders of Israel.
I think in 67 it was Levy Eshkol. In 73 it was Golda Meir, and then it was chief of staff was Moshe Dayan. But
yes,
that was the moment in time when they could have eliminated those two scars and on the Temple Mount, and it's repulsive. Now when you see the head bobbers and this nonsense, it's beyond sickening. And it's going to come to an end.
Yeah, the three initial leaders of Israel, though, were all the same ideology, and they came in fairly fast succession, because the Israelis did the same stupid thing they did with their star. I mean, they took the symbol of their demonization during the Holocaust, and they used it as the symbol for their religion and their state, and they took the government of their subjugation, and they applied it to their own country, and so they have a parliamentary system, and they went through prime ministers rather rapidly, but all extreme left. And the reason they were all extreme left is so many of the original group came from Eastern Europe, where they had lived under communism. That's all they knew. And within Israel, the existing Jews in Israel before 1948 were largely on the kibbutzim, and that was the first expression of Marxism and communism in the world. So yes. The group that became the IDF was a group of Marxist young men and women, and they were largely incorporated. That became the IDF. So you just had a whole series of Marxists initially.
Yeah, and a Marxist system that serves only the rabbis at this point in Israel. I mean, I'm sure there's other folks that get the benefits of Marxism, if you would, the money or whatever. But it's the rabbis that really get, and the Haredi that get fat off that.
It's interesting it's interesting right now that, of course, there's this huge uprising in Israel over the Haredi and their subsidies, and the fact that they don't fight in the IDF, and so they don't learn science or math, so that they are a net dependent on society. They become parasites. They actually shouldn't be drafted into the IDF, because they'd be a liability around any system, because they can't count, they can't think, they don't understand much of anything. And they're so indoctrinated that they can't be around women. Their food, their diet restrictions, everything about them makes them counterproductive. So they would be of no value, but yet you have these parasites that do nothing in a society where everybody else works. And the only thing you can do effectively is just tell them to go away, eliminate them. But then you have the left, where the Marxists are out the last week celebrating gay pride. I mean, I don't care if you're gay, lesbian, or whatever you want to profess. That's your business. But in the midst of a time when Israel is being destroyed, you probably should find something better to do with your time.
Yeah. Right now, right now, just believe this, is that the Haredi and the rabbinical types, they basically have formed alliances with the more conservative right-wing parties
Yeah,
to
Likud.
stay in power. And Netanyahu, who is soulless, has sold his soul
Mhm.
to stay in power
Yes.
by
That's
these
correct.
by these parasites.
Yeah, yeah. Netanyahu has never found a war he didn't like, and yet the core of his coalition are those who demand that the government pay them to do nothing, and to give them an exemption from the IDF. It's pure hypocrisy,
Yeah.
and it's
They
destroying
they
us.
actually claim that their prayers
I know.
provide Hashem's protection for Israel,
Yeah,
and that's why they should be paid. That's their
yeah.
contribution.
Yeah, and they claim that they're studying Torah, which is essential to being Jewish, and they claim that Judaism is essential to being Jewish, and they actually will not allow someone to immigrate into Israel unless they can prove that their Judaism is of Haredi class, and they are. I mean, there is no way that Israel can survive them, and they are exceedingly parasitical. But a deadly parasite. They're not a parasite that can cohabitate in the olives. They are destructive to the olives.
All I can say is, after yesterday and going over Yashaya 30, is it's going to come to an end. And when you come back with Dode, Lachabesh, justice will be done.
Yeah, it will be. This is a sickening worldview. Here's a Brit, and she says, it's shocking to me as a Brit from the UK that Americans aren't taught that they only entered the war against the Nazis after Nazi Germany sided with Japan, and after Pearl Harbor, and declare war against the USA. At no point did the USA decide to save democracy from Nazism. Okay. You want to talk about a country that doesn't deserve to be saved. You want to talk about a country that was not democratic. Let's talk about the UK. The UK was the most egregious oppressor of people the world had known up to that point. They were worse than the Romans. They were horrifyingly horrible at colonialization, and not just oppressing all other cultures, but robbing them, abusing them. They didn't promote democracy. They promoted total and complete subjugation and control. And they did it for centuries. And so if there ever was a country that did not recognize the value of independence and free will, it's the UK. If there ever was a country that didn't deserve to be saved from an oppressive totalitarian regime, it's the UK. And yet their disgusting nation was saved not once, but twice. So you want to shut up, Madeline Hanson. You're ignorant. You're immoral. You have no concept of what you actually represent. And it isn't democracy.
Yeah, it's the sun never set on the British Empire. It's not the sun never set on the democracy that Britain spread throughout the world, right? So
yeah, how did Hitler come to power? By the way, how did Hitler come to power?
Votes.
Mm-hmm. Votes, right. So
yeah. That's your democracy right there.
Yeah. Hitler tried to control Europe, just as the UK tried to control Europe and controlled at one point about a quarter of the Earth's population. Mm-hmm. And the history of the UK and India and in China in particular is really horrendous. Oh wow, I just despise this piece of shit here. And He's finally been suspended because he diddled the office staff, and he is just the face of evil. For those that don't know, this is the head justice of the International Criminal Court. He is the one that indicted Netanyahu and called him a war criminal. He's the one that accused Israel of genocide. And he is an absolutely maniacal, revolting piece of crud. That's what human excrement looks like. And there's a lot of them in the world. And many of them work for the United Nations. He just happens to be as bad as any of them. And you put a turd in a suit, it's still a turd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, Dr. Jeff and I were talking. At worst, at the United States, all they do is disbar you for something like this, and then make you Attorney General later on. But
yeah, of course.
It's.
I'm waiting for this, like you say, this piece of excrement to be called a victim.
Oh, I'm sure he already is. In fact, I know he already has. He's called himself a victim.
Oh,
yes.
God.
So here is Richard Gere. Richard Gere's not looking so good in his older age, and he has this post. It says, "We're living in the darkest moment that I've experienced on this planet." Okay. Whoever thought America could turn like this? Whoever thought that a maniac like this would be president of the United States? How is this even possible? Because we went to sleep? Richard Gere. Yeah. Marxism again. Hollywood in particular, but the Democratic Party went Marxist. I know that when you use the term Marxist, it doesn't resonate with people like progressive or social democrat or liberal or woke. But bottom line, it's Marxism. Mm-hmm. That is what they're promoting, was Marxism. And it is pervasive in the Democrat Party. It's pervasive in the Hollywood left. And the reason you got this POS on the right, who happens to be Satan, is because of the Marxists and the Democrat Party. You took over the party and you didn't give mainstream America an option. You did this because you went so far away from what was reasonable. You didn't learn from East and West Germany, East and West Europe, North and South Korea. You did not learn the lesson of failed Marxism and the consequence. You didn't learn the lesson of there's 200 million people that are dead today because of the Marxist experiment in China, in Europe, and Russia. You didn't learn that experience from it. And because you didn't learn that it was a failure economically, that it deprived all people of freedom and of prosperity, and that it was deadly, diabolical, because you did not learn that humans, when you congregate together, are worse than you are individually. Mm-hmm. That's just what this happens. So you want somebody to blame for this, Richard Gere? Look at yourself. Look in the mirror. Look at those that you represent. Look at those who echo your sentiment. Yeah, Trump became Trump and became president because the left went way too far left.
Paraphrase a philosopher who actually, I think this quote is quite accurate at times, is Santayana, about, when you don't learn the lessons of history, you are compelled to relive them.
Mm-hmm. Repeat that.
I would go when the lesser of two evils in American politics is Rahab. That you really have to think about what is Marxism. How evil is Marxism? Okay,
right. I don't think actually the lesser of two evils was Rahab. I don't think that the world recognized that Donald Trump was Satan incarnate, or that during that period where he had lost the election and couldn't handle the embarrassment, where he was going bankrupt, and losing all of his properties, and where he was losing every criminal case, and the next three, each of them was going to give him a life sentence in prison. And so he was so desperate that's when he accepted Satan as his solution. And so the Donald Trump of Trump 45 was an egomaniac and narcissist, and he said unbelievably stupid things, but he didn't do much that was particularly terrible. And the administration was tore up, an agreement with Iran and said some dumb stuff, but he wasn't a terrible president because he accomplished very little, and the less they accomplish, typically, the better they are. Mm-hmm. Trump 47 is an entirely different beast. He came back demon possessed, and so the narcissism is now narcissism on steroids. And he was always a psychopath, but it was not as evident. He was always a sexual pervert and predator, but it wasn't as evident. And so during that election, no one knew that they were voting between Cackles as a communist and Trump as the manifestation of Satan. And I don't think most people even realize that Trump is Satan today, even though it's obvious.
Right.
This is the same issue. Sometimes we just get themes during the day. And, all I'm doing here is I'm going through my feed on the Facebook account in preparation for this, finding something I thought might be interesting to talk about because of the implications on society and our times and the message that we're delivering from Yahweh. And in this particular case, you have the new Marxist mantra. They don't want to tax the billionaires. They want to rob the billionaires because they're not productive. And they claim power by redistribution of wealth. If they can promise people who are not productive that they will take the money of those who are productive and redistribute it to them, which is thievery, that makes them popular and people will vote for them under those circumstances. That is what democracy is all about. It is rewarding failure and punishing success. That's why it never fails and never succeeds. And this capitalism is cooked. Total ignorance. Capitalism, communism, socialism, fascism, Marxism, all the same ism. They all use capital, and they all recognize that the most important form of capital is human labor. Mm-hmm. The distinction really is between free enterprise and controlled economies. And free enterprise is a vastly better system for productivity and for freedom than our controlled economies. And the controlled economies are all the same, whether it's fascism, socialism, or communism, or a monarchy. Controlled economies are all the same. They do not work. And there is a blend today that is sort of interesting, but it misses this point entirely, which is that in China, you have a government that is communist, but all of the industry operates under free enterprise. So it has become the economic engine of the world while blundering nationally. But free enterprise is the only functional form of economics. There is none other. All the others concentrate power in the hands of a few, but they socialize the human experience, and in so doing, we become the worst of ourselves. You freeze rent, and everyone lives in a slum. Mm-hmm. No one will build, no one will maintain. So it just shows this complete ignorance of economics, and you can't get through to the mindset like that. Again, idiot in the middle. You cannot get through to them. There are no words that are going to resonate with him to say, okay, every fact proves that I'm wrong. But he didn't give a shit. And you're dealing with a generation that's been so indoctrinated, they don't know how to think anymore. So they can't reason their way out of it. And they don't know economics. They've never run a business. They never hired anybody in their lives. They never tried to manage someone. They've never raised capital. They've never written a business plan. They don't know. And, unfortunately, in a representative government or in a democracy, the idiots outnumber those who do know by many, many, many hundreds to one, maybe thousands to one.
Yeah,
you could take all of the money, not just tax the billionaires. You could, by the way, the billionaires are already paying. The wealthiest 1% pay 25% of the total government budget. So the top 1% are already paying 25%, which means they're over contributing, and 50% pay nothing. The bottom 50% pay nothing. So the system is already tilted grossly towards penalizing success. But in this case, rather than tax the billionaires, you could take 100% of the money of the billionaires, and you wouldn't cover even half of the increase in the national debt in 1 year. You wouldn't even cover half of the increase if you took it all. It wouldn't last in terms of sustaining other people for even a week. So if you took it all, and then you've destroyed incentive for anybody else to make it, so you'll have no one else in the future to rob. So if you took it all, you would it'd go a week, you'd reward failure for a week, and then it'd all be gone, and there'd be no one else to replace them. Duh.
Right. I just like all the happy smiling faces and the wonderful colors. I mean, Marxism just looks so joyful, doesn't it? I love this part down here where it says no AI, and yet all of these college educated Marxists used AI to do their term papers, to write their papers, and then the Marxist
and to create these graphics.
And the Marxist teachers,
and their whole world is artificial because they use it to create an artificial existence for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the lout in the middle, he's a special Marxist because he's that nexus between Marxism and Islam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know why Bernie Sanders and the group have gone no AI? You know what their issue with AI is?
Probably climate change.
It's pseudo-climate. The AI centers use just enormous amounts of water and electricity. And electricity has to be generated, and most of the means of generating electricity are considered caustic to the environment. Even they pay for it, they still use an inordinate amount of electricity, and they use an inordinate amount of water. And so those two reasons are the primary reasons they don't want AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty simplistic view of the world.
I was doing a little bit of research on the amount of water usage, and it was funny that you say they use an inordinate amount, but I mean, it was, there's one going out of New Florence that is back close to my old hometown, and it's a huge or it's a Google development, acres, I mean hundreds of acres under, and they're talking about the size of the well that they're dropping and the depth, and then they're going 1,500 feet, which is crazy deep for wells around Missouri. They're going into a Precambrian aquifer that typically is only tapped by Metropolitan, and it was somewhere at 50 million gallons a year or something like that. And it wasn't even a percentage of what a major city of 50,000 people would use in a year, and so people are having this upset about how much water that AI is going to use. Okay. But cities are using 10 times that amount of water for people just to wash clothes and daily,
Right. So
it's
a
drop in.
Actually, it's for as I looked at it, it's about equivalent for a average size AI facility would use as much water as a community of about 500 people. So there's a bunch of machines over there that are using the same amount of water every year that 500 people would use. That's still a lot of water. And we're going to get to that as we turn to the development in Arizona by the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and why they put a facility in Arizona where the facility is only running now at about 5% of its intended capacity because they can't staff it, and they're still using 1 million gallons of water a day from the Phoenix metropolitan sources of water in a desert, and they're 1 million gallons a day, and they're at maybe 1% of capacity. So it's there are serious water uses. Now, I don't have a problem with people using water because there's exactly as much water on the planet today as there was 1 billion years ago. But you ought to be smart enough to say, if I need a lot of water, I should put my draw on water near where there is a lot of water. So I don't know why you would put it in the Arizona desert, but they did.
Two things working against you: no water and heat. It's like, come on, who was thinking, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft has bought 3,400 acres around Cheyenne, Wyoming, to put in a data center. That's a high plains desert.
Yes. Yeah. It's again the same kind of thing. And you've got Elon building all of his AI chip facilities that also are huge water draws in Texas, and not in the part of Texas that's wet but in dry. And so you just go, come on, folks, what's going on here? Oh boy, the flipper flopper. I like flip flops, so I'm not got anything against flip flops. But that argument that Trump said, "I never said that I wouldn't start a war." You're lying. You must be stupid. Are you a crook or are you stupid? Those are the only choices. And he turned bright red and everything else. And of course, right after the interview, she played one of many clips where Trump is campaigning for president in 2024. And he says, "I will start no wars. I will be the peace president." And so, she caught Trump in an absolute lie. The flipper flopper. But hey, that's real hop, stock, and trade. You can't deny Satan what Satan does best, right? He wouldn't be Satan. Right. That wouldn't be fair.
Fair, right?
I like taking Sir Shorts to say you can't wear a hat. Grossly unfair.
There was some hat. Yeah, there was some hat discussion today about whether I should turn it around backwards or not. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm glad people are listening. This is good. All right. So this is a presentation on Epstein, which the world has largely forgotten. You start enough wars, you say enough idiotic crap that, people lose interest. And that's what Trump's been trying to do. Jane Doe number 4, at 15 years old, claims, and she was interviewed over and over again by the FBI, considered a credible witness by the FBI. And she has testified over and over again, giving enormous amounts of evidence that she was raped by Epstein when she was 13. And then she was raped by Donald Trump when she was 15. And the Epstein estate gave her enormous amounts of money and a non-disclosure agreement that didn't just cover Epstein. The settlement for many, many millions of dollars was to have a non-disclosure between not only covering Epstein, but covering Donald Trump. That's part of the Epstein files. It has now been released that the settlement covers Epstein and Trump, and that it over accusations that she made and repetitively interviewed by the FBI for verification that when she was 15 years old, she was raped by Donald Trump. That's what this video is about, if you want to have the evidence. That's pretty
this is Jane Doe number 4.
4. Yeah, she's
So that
actually the
means
most
there's-
important of the Jane Does in that particular case. Jane Doe number 4. You've actually probably most of us have seen video evidence of her being interviewed of what she had to say of what Donald Trump did to her. And so MAGA, chew on that. Gag on it. Your man is a pedophile and a rapist.
My point was that she's just not the only one.
No. Oh, God, no. She's not.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
But if she was the only one, that would be
Still
enough.
It would be, yes.
Yes.
So, Rahab has had his Aisha moments.
Yes, he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the Aisha moment speaks of when Muhammad was 66. If he was born in the year of the elephant, which is what the Quran strongly insinuates, then he would have been 66 years old when he first crawled into bed to have sex with Aisha, who was 6 years old at the time. And she was not the only one as a child that he raped. And so Donald Trump is slightly better than Muhammad, in that Muhammad was 66 with a 6-year-old girl. This girl was 15. Okay. These are dancing rabbis in their shlemiels and black hats, jumping up and down. I just want to be very consistent and very clear. God hates them. God is absolutely disgusted by Judaism. He views Judaism as the single most hostile thing that has ever happened to his people. He knows that Judaism is the cause of Christianity and of Islam, and that it had a significant role also in Marxism. And he views these men running around as if they were speaking for him in their weasel hats and their mourning suits as reprobates. This, in his view, is the modern Sodom. And I can tell you that 7 years from now, there won't be a single one of them left. I just ended writing a bit for my ongoing analysis of Noach. In the discussion that Abraham has, I'm going to put discussion in air quotes, with Yahweh. What he had to say was repulsive to Yahweh. I really dislike Abraham a lot. But the two witnesses, one of the two witnesses was Noach, the other one was Shem. And I pondering questions about, when does a society get to the point where evidence and reason no longer matter? When does society get to the point where where allowing them to continue is merciless, where the only merciful and moral thing to do is to neutralize them? And how do you make that decision? Who gets to make that decision? So it's really an interesting discussion. And I did a thought experiment on it that I'll share with you. You have a chance to read. But it's the questions that Abraham didn't ask that are really the interesting ones. And the thought experiment that I provide, I think, is useful in this regard, that if Yahweh neutralized the Haredim, such that they did not exist, it would not be a merciless thing. It would be exceedingly merciful. And I explained why God was in a position to do that and we're not, and why it would be all beneficial if Yahweh did it with no downside, and not in our purview to do it other than to talk about it should be done. Mm-hmm. So it'll be an interesting piece for you all to read and decide whether or not I'm right on this. But I took a very harsh position against Abraham. Again, I do not like him. We're not going to be buds. Mm. I'm disappointed that man is going to be in Shalmi. I mean, I understand that Yahweh chose him. Maybe there was no one else to choose. And I went through a whole cadre of possibilities as to why God chose such a reprehensible person, but he did. And the man's only credit, beyond the fact that he was willing to walk out of Babylon, and I think it's probably because he had some history there that he needed to run from. But he did walk out of Babylon, and he did listen. He didn't understand anything was said to him, but he did listen. And ultimately, he passed the test on Mount Moriah, but that's a test that I would not have done. I'd have been very different. And I was there, by the way. And my approach would have been very different than Abraham's. My approach would have been, I understand what you have just asked. I've heard you. And I'm here to tell you that I'll go through with this charade, knowing that it's a charade, and that the purpose of this is to serve as a harbinger for something to come. And I understand the message why you want to do it exactly at this time and this year with me and my son in this particular place. I get why you want to do it that way. And then why you're going to stop me from doing this so you can say, I'm going to provide the lamb, and that lamb is going to be your firstborn son, your beloved son. Beautiful presentation. But just between the two of us. I'm not going to ask you any questions going up here. We're going to go up knowing that we are walking a word picture here. We are a living word picture for something you're trying to communicate. I'm not taking the life of my son, and you're not telling me to. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah, the Abraham, as you say, discussion, if 50 people or 5 or just 1, that is interesting because Yah was very clear about clearing out the religious in the midst before Israel goes into the promised land. That was the whole point. We got to clear.
No, it's a bigger point. No, it's a far bigger point than that. He wouldn't have known that because the prophecies hadn't been written. No, it's a far bigger point than that he actually did know. There were 8 against millions. We already played this game. There were 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
There were 8 and there were millions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And God gave that 8 the opportunity to avoid extermination. And then he exterminated the rest. We already played that game. That game's already been answered as to what he would do. So why are you asking the question?
Right.
When you ask God a question about something he has already answered, it shows that you disrespect him. Mm-hmm. So that question was already asked and answered. But it's not the question, because he's not really answering. He's not asking a question. He's making an accusation. And he's saying, by even suggesting this, you're reprehensible. He is actually condemning God. He is presenting himself as superior to God and condemning God for doing what is absolutely responsible. Mm-hmm. And it's never put in context of the fact that 50 would be at most 1%. So you have a culture that has caused 99% of people to be caustic. And you're going to allow that culture to continue to fester and infect other people when 99% of those influenced by that culture are reprehensible? Mm-hmm. Why would that be a good decision? Why would that be a moral decision?
Right.
And why would you accuse the creator of the universe of being immoral because he was going to try to stop this cancer from metastasizing throughout his home?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It is a harbinger of Sukkah as far as a zero tolerance policy in Sukkah.
It's actually a harbinger for what happens on Teruah, so that Sukkah becomes possible. Teruah enables Sukkah, but yes, we're not going back to the garden without a Noach moment and without a Sodom moment, and both of those are going to occur on Teruah. Teruah is the great day of Yahweh because everything that needs to happen happens on Teruah. Teruah is even the gift to his beloved son. It's all about Teruah. And on these guys, there's a special chariot, properly festooned and colored just for them. And it's going to take every one of their sorry souls into hell, into a black hole. All black chariot, black hole, Black hats, black suits, black hearts, black religion, no light.
I will say Yoel 2 goes into this exactly what Yah thinks of these weasels and miscreants. And as you've disclosed recently, going through Yashaya 30, 20 through 28, 29, 30. Wow. The events of fiery, and you actually become as the stem, the rod, and the sword.
Yes.
That's going to be your role.
Yeah, I'm going to have the scepter on loan, but the rod, the spear, I am those things. The branch.
The branch and the scepter
belong to God. It's going to be wielded,
God.
And that's what God wants done. So there is a person being sent by God who is going to rid Israel of her enemies. He's just not going to be the Messiah. He's here on behalf of the Messiah, but he is not the Messiah. And these morons that are pretending that he's going to save them, no, he's going to make certain that they're incarcerated in Sheol. Lucky for them, they don't believe in Sheol, so it won't bother them at all.
Right.
Oh my, Machiavelli. Have you guys ever read Machiavelli's book?
Machiavelli.
Have you? Have you ever? You know his book? Machiavelli wrote a book called The Prince.
The Prince, yes.
The Prince. Machiavelli was an Italian. Lived probably in Florence area, not far from Rome. At the time, all popes were Italian because it was Rome, of course. And, the whole concept of pope, by the way, and the pope running the Christian world didn't actually emerge until the 11th century. It was during the time of the Crusades, when a Roman pontiff claimed that he was pope, taking the title that the emperors of Rome had used. The emperors of Rome, beginning with Augustus, called themselves the father of Rome, and they used Popa as father. So he took the old Roman title of the emperors, and he claimed that he was infallible and he was the one, and that all other sects ought to obey him. And the pontiffs and the Eastern Church out of Constantinople said, "No, you don't. You don't have any sway over us." And the Roman based church is largely destroyed anyway, with all the powers with us. But that's when it began, as actually in the 11th century. So it's a relatively new phenomenon. It doesn't go back to Saint Peter by any stretch of the imagination. But what Machiavelli was writing when he wrote about the Prince was for the Pope. And he was advising Italians, and these would be all Italian oligarchs. And it wouldn't be actually an oligarch then because it was a monarchical system. That to be Pope, you needed to know that there are two basic ways to control people. You can earn their respect, or you can terrorize them so that they fear you. Those are the two ways. And his advice to all future popes was that earning someone's respect was too hard to accomplish and didn't have near the influence of terror. And so Machiavelli's The Prince was written, and Machiavellism is been categorized, even though it's not written in the book, as the ends justify the means, is that there is no manner of terror that is inappropriate for a ruler to impose to control people. And it is the philosophy that has always run the Roman Catholic Church. It's the philosophy that ran Imperial Rome. This is the exceedingly evil, and they want to call him a philosopher. Now, this philosophy is never play fair in a game where others cheat. So what he is saying is that those that will oppose the Roman Catholic Church are dishonest. And sure, some of them are. And so the appropriate thing for the Roman Catholic Church to do is to be dishonest. That's what he's writing.
Oh, it's pure sadism. It's pure sadism, because we are going to inflict pain, terror, fear, whatever means necessary for your own good, lowly people, man. That, right? You know, you
It's
need,
Paul's. The all governments are inspired by God. You are subject to them, and if you oppose them, it'll be at your own doom. And if you support them, it is the will of God.
Right.
Yeah, and he was writing that in the book of Romans to Romans, who are the most beastly of empires in human history.
Yeah. Give on to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
I can tell you, Dode would never have made that comment. There is a 0% chance, because Dode was actually king of Israel. He united Israel. He defended Israel. They were in the city that bore his name, the city of Dode. Or in his house. And when he came back to fulfill Passover, I can tell you he didn't placate any Roman and say, and look at a coin and say, give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
He said, "You guys are lucky. I'm here for one job. You guys are lucky. I'm here for one job only. Otherwise,
Only one job. I'm here to do one thing only. Actually, two things: fulfill Pesach
Right.
and matzah. Matzah is the biggie. I'm going to go into hell for a heavenly cause. But you guys aren't really lucky, because there's none of you who are going to benefit from that. Not one.
I just mean that
yes,
he would have been the ultimate rebel.
It's going to have benefit for my people and for the covenant family, and nothing for you. And I'm going to return as king of the universe, and you're all going to spend the rest of your existence in hell. But enjoy your day. Been fun chatting. You call me a king? Yeah, I am the king. I am the king of kings.
Yeah.
All right. So SpaceX, their IPO is valued at $1.7 trillion. And at this point, all they have done is lose money. Oh, here's a company that's done nothing but lose money, and it has nowhere to go. They are never going to build a colony on the moon, and they can't take a man to Mars. They have nowhere to go, and there's no place else they're going to go. So it's a company without any place to go, who is so far behind in the AI quest with Grok and his AI centers as a hobby, that not even in the conversation with these other AI giants. And X is just a complete another joke. Not even a joke. It's a cesspool. It's the worst of the worst. And so he bundled Grok and SpaceX and Starlink to create a holding company of all losers. And it's valued at $1.7 billion because people have no value. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do with it. All losers. And the same guy is the same fellow that has absolutely lost control of Tesla. Tesla's in free fall.
Musketeer
no longer
has
profitable. Only protected by UF tariffs. Losing market share rapidly, losing sales rapidly, declining in margins rapidly. Their original car that built them has been canceled, and they're no longer making, even shut down the factories for the last car that they introduced. And so, all they're throwing is throwing shit against the wall. They got their new robo-taxi, and it's the ugliest piece of crap in the world. And so far behind the competitors, a day late, dollar short. And he's competing in an industry where he's not the technological leader in EVs. It's all taking place in China. And he's not the leader in robots. That's in China. He's not the leader in anything anymore. except orbital launch. And because NASA opted out, Boeing did a face plant, and Blue Origin, Bezos companies, blew up its spaceport.
Blew up.
Yeah. So all he's got is defense contracts to launch satellites. That's what he's got. And he can't make a profit at it.
$1.77 trillion in stock price. I wonder if, as the currency devalues and stock price goes up because it takes more of that currency to buy those stocks, not necessarily.
Of course.
If it'll look good, at least, you know.
Yeah, but how do you value a company that loses money and has nowhere to go and only has one real client, which is the U.S. government, and is way behind in the curve in AI? And this is a hobby for this man. It's not his prime business. How do you do that? Can you be that crazy?
The only thing that comes to mind is Greenspan's irrational exuberance quote.
Yeah, irrational exuberance. That's what we got. That irrational exuberance is about to. Mm-hmm.
Blame it on the rain. I wanted to pull that song.
Yeah.
For
So
this.
yeah, he had that satanic meltdown. I mean, he really had a satanic meltdown. He turned glowing red, and threw a temper tantrum when he was caught in a series of lies. She was pretty obnoxious as a interviewer. I don't think I would have put up with her either. But he was trying to deflect the fact that he was lying about everything. And he would talk over her, which is his way, when she was pointing out that, well, why don't you offer some proof? You're making all these big claims, but you never offer any proof for any of this. And then he made the stupid claim, I never promised there wouldn't be any, that wouldn't start wars. But he then said something about, you're lucky I'm here because it's raining. And then he went to this other meeting and he says, because it was raining, I lost my temper. I mean, what is he, the Wicked Witch of the West? And, if you throw a little water on him, he melts. Is that the deal? I mean, he knows he's demonic and water will cause him to melt. Like was it the Wicked Witch of the West, right? That you pour a little water on and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Does the witch in? Maybe that's his thing is that, well, I don't like water. Water's frightening for me. Maybe it's he's read the, Esther Time of Trouble, and he knows that it's going to be torrents of water released from the Temple Mount during the sacrifice of the Adam Parah that ultimately turns him into the equivalent of the Wicked Witch of the West. He's going to melt right there. Maybe he's read that. Maybe he knows that he needs to avoid water at all cost.
Rabid animals are afraid of water.
Okay,
that is one of the
Why? Why now? Why there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, North Korea is a pipsqueak quankin. It only matters for one reason. I mean, the world wouldn't even know about North Korea existence because it's a prison camp if it wasn't for the fact that he manufactured nukes. And so the only reason that Z would be going there at this time, following his meetings with Iran, with Putin, and with Trump and succession, is because of nukes and arranging what they're going to do with the nukes and doesn't want any traced communication, so he's going to do it in person. And that's the only reason for going there, is dealing with the exuberance that Fat Bad Herboy has for nukes and the fact that he is building them at reckless abandon, or because they were delivered to Iran and he wants to make certain that there's no tracing it to him. But that's really an interesting deal. And there doesn't seem to be an answer for that. I can tell you that the answer for what happened at the last summit all boils down to a single thing. The summit between Trump and Z. And China announced it right at the beginning. don't interfere with Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
That was the entire message. They didn't get beyond that. Don't interfere with Taiwan. And it was like Trump was begging for China to involve itself to resolve the unresolvable war in Iran. And China just responded with, don't interfere with Taiwan. You have a call that's coming up with that you promised with the president of Taiwan. Don't hold it. And Trump didn't. He canceled it. There is an arms sale of U.S. weapons to Taiwan. Stop it. And Trump stopped it. And so it's all about Taiwan. Now, why would it be all about Taiwan? Do you know? Why was it about Taiwan?
Chips.
Chips.
And not the kind you eat.
Nope. Chips. Of the top end AI caliber chips, the kind that are also used in robots and automated driving cars and your computers and all this sort of thing. 95% of them are made in Taiwan. And of those, the overwhelming preponderance of them are made in the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC. And so with a company that has a 70% share of semiconductors and a 95% share of advanced chips, being in one country, that's the prize. It's the most valuable commodity on the planet today. It is the commodity that, if not available to the West, would bring the West to its knees in a matter of a month. The defense industry couldn't function. The AI industry would crater. And all of the kinds of things that we do with social media and the like would be gone. There'd be no more personal computers. No more cars are running on them now. Everything would come to a crashing halt. You couldn't make anything anymore. Because it's about a 95% monopoly on the upper end chips that come from this one factory, and a 70% overall on technology chips from one source. That source is in Taiwan. And so why would you go into Venezuela? Why would you claim that you want Greenland? Why would you blockade Cuba? Why would you go to war against Iran? When the one country that really matters for the world economy or world stability is Taiwan.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. You know, the U.S. 5 years ago made a deal with the then CEO, he's retired, but of TSMC, and to what has become now a $170 billion boondoggle in the Arizona desert, to build a replica of the Taiwanese manufacturing capability of high-end chips in the United States. And they got a couple of problems. One is that they can't get enough water. But the bigger problem is they can't get employees. Even if they offer people $30 an hour and a 4-day work week, they won't show up because the discipline demanded by that industry and by the Taiwanese overseeing it is something Americans won't endure. And there are no training schools for it. Taiwan became successful in chip manufacturing, not because of an individual. It was that the government 50 years ago decided that this was going to be our future. And the government is the leading shareholder in the Taiwanese Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. And they made all of the initial investments, but they didn't do it alone. They went to the whole community, went to every wealthy individual in that community and said, we want you all to invest. This is going to be our collective project. I don't care what your industry is. You have means. This is our future. Invest in it. And they all did. And so they built not just a company, they built a culture. And they built an academic institutions around prioritizing people how to succeed in that culture. And they taught people how to be PhDs in doping wafers, and building developing these kinds of chips and building the machines that create them. And then the culture that would cause people to say, I want to work there. This is what I want to do. Where in America, they want to be an influencer. And so they created the culture where the industry was possible. And then they created the industry at enormous investments that only a government can do. And now it's 30% of the GDP of Taiwan. And it runs the world. And so China's in an interesting spot. Now, this guy, he is just not the smartest guy in the world. He just isn't. I mean, so much of what he says here is just utter nonsense. But he's right about one thing. The meeting with Trump was all about Taiwan. Don't interfere. Now, he didn't say that he was going to invade Taiwan, because Xi is actually in a unique position here. While he has, with all the islands that he has built and the Navy he has built and the Air Force that he has built and the missile infrastructure that he has built, he has made it impossible for the United States or any group of countries to defend Taiwan. It is absolutely impossible. So he is taking care of that. And Como says, because of those islands now, he can blockade Taiwan. Do you think they're shipping the top end chips that are this big, that are exceedingly expensive, that are more valuable than diamonds per weight, and you think they're putting them on a ship? Are you out of your mind? They're going on airplanes, pal.
Yeah.
They're arriving in 12 hours from the time, or 24 hours the time they're shipped, not 3 weeks. And so he's got no concept of what he's talking about there. But the issue is, and this is what America doesn't get here, we destroyed the culture of America relative to free enterprise, much less manufacturing. That culture exists in Taiwan. I mean, I knew that every time I went to Taiwan, I loved the people and the attitude of the people. We don't have that culture in America. That culture is not transferable. That culture took 25 years to cultivate in a country that was driven by free enterprise. China can't go to war with Taiwan and capture that company. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company has no value to China if they go to war with Taiwan, because the culture that they need to run that company would be gone. So they can't go to war with them. We don't have to worry about them going to war with them. They can't go to war because they would destroy the one thing they want. They don't need more land. They don't need another island. But even though they're now about 10% of, which is, I think they're now in the second position worldwide, with South Korea being 3, and there's nobody else that even matters in chip production. The United States would be 4. They don't get TSMC if they go to war with Taiwan, because they would destroy the culture that runs that company, and it's the culture that matters. It's why you can't just go and build the machines and put the buildings wherever you want to. In the United States, spending up to this point $170 billion, and the chips that are making are like third generation, when the rest of the world is in the 12th generation.
Wow.
And you're dealing with something that's very expensive to make and has very high-tech machines making it. But all of the managers and the foremen over those machines are thinking people, and you can't replace those people. And those people are more valuable than doctors. They're wearing pagers at night. They're constantly on call, and they're going to monitor their machines, because the big issue is yield. And when a machine stops performing properly, you've got to deal with it immediately because of the supply and demand consequence and the cost of scrap on these things. You have to make them in enormous quantities, and you have to know how you go from a prototype to mass production, and they have the experience to do that. but it's the culture. That culture doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So the Chinese can't go to war with them. The only thing the Chinese can do is to keep the rest of the world out, to keep Taiwan so that it can't go to war and defend itself with China because they don't have the weapons, they don't have any support. So they can go to the Taiwanese and say, we'll make you a deal. Here's the deal you can't refuse. The whole country will be a free enterprise zone. You can have your own government over that free enterprise zone, but you're part of China. We are your government, and we're going to allow the entire nation to be an enterprise zone. And under that basis, the chip manufacturing would continue. And China would have the benefit. And the rest of the world would lose. But that's what China can do. And we don't know if Xi is smart enough to pull off that plan. But the only way you can do it is to have Taiwan recognize they're indefensible, that they have no allies, and they don't have the weapons to confront China. So rather than obliterate the population and destroy the whole thing, why not accept this proposal? And I think that's what we're headed towards. But that was the entire meeting. It's the only reason that Xi agreed to meet with Trump between Iran and Russia, and then going to North Korea. He rallied the troops around his allies, but he put Trump in a really, really, really difficult spot. And Trump has already canceled the conversation with the president of Taiwan, and he has announced that the weapons are on hold. Well, we still give direct to the other side, but we've actually done the only two things that matter to China.
China can still buy chips from Taiwan, right? I mean, there's no. Oh, they can't. Oh,
no.
Now I understand. Okay.
The United States doesn't sell weapons to people without extracting a pint of blood. And the pint of blood was, you don't offer any of your chips to anyone in China.
No.
Now, the difficulty of all of that, most of electronics, computers, smartphones, the like, and advanced auto parts, everything are made in China. And so for them to be made in China, the chips have to be shipped to China to assemble into those components. So what the U.S. has restricted is the thing that TSMC is best at, which is these AI caliber chips. And so they have not shipped those. Now, in the past, one of the things we've learned with China and with most countries is true also with Iran. When you put sanctions and embargoes on countries where they can't get things that are vital to them, and if they're smart, they develop them. And that's what happens with Iran and missiles and with centrifuges and the like. They invented them. And China is becoming the fastest growing chip manufacturer in the world today. It's because these kinds of embargoes never work.
Yeah.
So there you have it. In America, the enterprise is manufacturing really low grade chips relatively in Arizona. They're in major wars over water supply, and they have tried all manner of partnerships to cultivate a workforce, and they can't get employees. And so the people that are actually running the plants are imports from Taiwan. And now there's visa wars on how many of them can come in. And so that's not working either. So the fact is we just have nothing but a mess.
Wow. This from you.
Yeah, you got Amalek. The rabbis with their Samils, their weasel hats, and they're burning an Israeli flag.
No, they're not. They're burning a homemade flag that looks like a. This is a bed sheet that they painted on. They're too cheap to even go buy a flag to burn.
Yeah, and I think it's an effigy too, so that it's it's got little tenny rompers, and I think they probably made an effigy that was wrapped in a Israeli flag. They are reprehensible. This is the scourge of the earth. Rabbis of all varieties of ultra-Orthodox Judaism are deadly, toxic, disgusting reprobates that are universally hated by God.
And they cast a pall upon the remaining Jews in the world.
They do. Yeah, there they are with their Israeli flag. Yeah, homemade Israeli flag. Can't even buy an Israeli flag. Oh yeah, dancing. What a goon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your little curly cues. Like you're pretending that that is you're doing something that's Torah. Yeah, weasel hats and curly cues. That's where do you find the curly cues and the Torah?
Is that the Burger
curly.
King there? Who's that kid with the crown?
Oh, look at that. It's
Yeah, it's just disgusting. It's so hard to be supportive of Israel. I mean, I'm sure it is if it is for us. Can you imagine Yahweh saying these are the people that I chose? And oh my God, they are so disgusting. And perverting your children to the third and fourth generation.
Absolutely.
If you were to driving by that, what would be your response other than
What you doing, Rabbi?
and they're standing across from a school.
Yeah, they just,
Oh, and they're celebrating Purim, which is, of course,
from
the book of Esther, which is a complete and utter fraud.
Yeah. How repulsive they are with their bed sheets. You know the story with them as well, right, guys?
What's that?
That they cut a hole in the sheet because they don't want to have actual physical contact with their partners.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure their partner doesn't want to have physical contact with them either, or to see them. Can you imagine that creep making love to you?
I just
No, I cannot.
No.
Okay. I gotta order you guys some. I need to order some Zofran right now. Some composting.
It's just, oh my God, they're frightening. They're disgusting human beings, and they're pretending that they are representing God when they are nothing but caustic to God. They are reprehensible to God.
And they will even
Toabah is the term that God would use to describe them.
Cozy up. They cozy up to the Fakistinians, wear Fakistinian flag. I mean, you just don't get lower than it. There's just no lower place that
Right. So I've got no problem. You want to criticize your government. I'm going to criticize Netanyahu. I think he's a disaster for Israel. I think that the rabbinical parties in Israel are as bad as the liberal parties in Israel. They are a disaster for the country. It's a shame that the country can't create a constitution. It's a shame that they continue to think that war is their better option as opposed to intelligence, and that they're destroying themselves. But I'm going to give my life for them. So it's one thing to criticize what they're doing wrong. God does all the time. It's another thing just to be obnoxious, which is what these idiots are.
Well,
burning the Israeli flag and effigies of their leadership and besmirching the state of Israel. I'm going to tell you something. If there is no Israel, we are right back to the Holocaust. And if you're a Jew and you want to condemn Israel, then you need to know in this anti-Semitic times that we're in right now, without the state of Israel, there is another Holocaust. Israel is what is standing between you right now and the Holocaust.
Just beyond brainless. They are just anencephalic morons.
And they don't read their own Torah and prophets. They read their Torah and prophets, they wouldn't be religious. God hates religion. God speaks vehemently against them. He is angry at them. And read their prophets, they would throw away the Talmud. They would throw away everything associated with Judaism and come clean. But you can't reason with them. This is the point that, if I had been there with Yahweh when Abraham asked his stupid question, I would have said, God, when do you get to the point with a culture that they're beyond evidence and reason, where there's no way to talk them out of where they have gone, where the only thing that you can do is neutralize them for the damage that they are doing, and that there is literally no hope for them? What are the signs that a culture has reached that point? And I think that had been a really interesting discussion, but that discussion did not happen. But I can tell you, we're witnessing it here with these rabbinical, Haredi, ultra-Orthodox types, is that they have weaseled themselves into a position where they're not just parasites, they are malignant, and they have metastasized, and there is no cure for them.
Once again, you're feeling me. I liken them to a deadly infection or a rapidly progressive cancer, or both. And you excise, you have to eradicate it, isolate, eradicate, eliminate.
Quarantine.
And that's actually just, loving, and kind. And going back to a concept that we all, I think, adhere to, is you got to know what to hate, when to hate, who to hate, why to hate, and how to hate.
Yeah. All those little children that were being influenced by them, had somebody had the courage to speak out against them and to stop funding them and to point out the fact that everything they were saying is untrue, then they may not have corrupted those children who now have no future as well.
And
they may not have given Jews as a whole the ethnicity, the naming convention. They may not have given Yehudim a bad name. But a lot of the reason that anti-Semitism exists is because rabbis exist. And if rabbis didn't exist, you would eliminate a huge amount of anti-Semitism. When that anti-Semite that we began the show with, he was attacking the Talmud. Now, errantly, but without the Talmud, he doesn't have an argument. And the Talmud has done nothing but curse Jews. So, as I say, rabbis have been their own worst enemy. Without the Talmud, there is no Islam. Without Judaism, there is no Paul, and there is no Christianity. They created their own enemies. And even now, you look at these sad sacks, and everyone who sees them is going to have the same visceral reaction to them, that this is sick. There's something deeply disturbed and demonic about these people. Yep. And so they're inspiring the same kind of hatred of Yehud that the religions that they inspired have done. That's why I just hate religion. Well, we've gone to almost 2 hours. We can do one more if you want to do. You're itching to do one more. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Dude, oh.
Yeah, boy, did he ever lose his SHIT. I'll say he lost his shit. And he turned bright red. I mean, look how red he is here. And look at the horns on his head there. He's really looking satanic. I mean, this is Rahab looking Rahab. He's hissing on the left, and he's spitting on the right, and he's got his horns flared, and he's turned bright red. And he's got, of course, his goatish comb over here, according to the prophets. That's Rahab, man. That's Satan incarnate. He lost his shit, man. And I've always thought that Satan had better control over himself than that. When you pretend, as he did in the creating of Mr. Christ and of Allah, that you're a god, you have to have some self-control. You don't have to be all that smart, because people are really stupid. They'll believe anything. But you just can't lose your shit like this and have people think you're a god. And the same token, you lose your shit like this, and it's no one's going to believe that you're a credible individual.
It just proves you're ineffectual
in a series of lies, and you lost it because you didn't like being caught in a series of lies. Oh, and of course it was raining outside. We don't like water.
Don't like water.
I mean, he's just.
I'm melting.
It's interesting. I'm looking at him, and there's certain kind of tumors in patients called carcinoids where people get vasodilated, but that photo. It just encapsulates the satanic face. I mean, it is.
It does.
Everything.
We were the first to identify him as Satan incarnate, as the great betrayer of Israel, as the Torahless one. as Rahab. And every day he just continues to prove us right.
I mean, it's,
I have a feeling there will be more to come. I have a feeling that as things.
Oh, it's going to get far worse. It's just
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
and particularly as he now is sparring with Israel, trying to find that he can blame Israel for his problems in Iran, and he has no solution for Iran, and he still has no solution for the Epstein files, and so he's got no solution for the economy, and he's got no solution for anything. And the world's falling apart. The petrodollar is cratering. He has lost his allies in Europe and in the Middle East. He has a war he can't get out of. It's all cratering for him.
In less than 2 years. I mean, how do you fuck it up that bad in less than 2 years?
In 2 years, yeah. How could you screw it up that bad? And how, after 2 years of doing everything wrong and making an utter fool of yourself and of the world, you still have all 38% of MAGAs in your corner. It's the stuff of Sodom. God says, I'm going to find out if the reality meets the complaints, and if it is, I'm going to annihilate it. And it's the deal here. There is no solution for this, and the most merciful thing is to put us all out of, so that we're no longer suffering as a result of these kinds of beasts. And he just happens to be the worst of them. He's
warming up for the final act.
He is, and that final act takes place in Jerusalem on the 24th of September of 2033. It'll be Teruah, and he's going to irritate a whole lot of people when that happens, and he's going to find that he does melt in a torrent of water.
Well, yeah, I mean, you described it. I mean, it was pretty revealing yesterday when you described it with Dode having the scepter and being the branch, and again, you being the stem, the rod, and the spear. Man.
We've got his number. We've got his number. But we also have the number of all those who are militant and conspiratorial and anti-Semitic and racist, and religious and political and patriotic. We're going to get rid of all of you.
Yeah.
All of you. And it'll be the most merciful thing we could possibly do.
It will be. And then
poof. Clean the world, go back to the conditions of Eden, and provide Dode with a following. That, by the way, is the key aspect of our job right now, is that God wants his firstborn to be the ultimate heir of a creator. You created an empire. God created the empire of this universe and life there in it. And he created a firstborn to be his heir. And he can't be king without a kingdom. Mm-hmm. And he can't have a kingdom unless we do our job of providing people that we purge of their religiosity and prepare to respect and honor him appropriately. But, that's basically our job, is to prepare a kingdom for Dode. And when we do that, we're making our king happy and our God happy. And we will prosper as a result of doing it. But that's really our job. Yeah. When they say no King's Day, yes, there is a king. Yeah. And he will have his day.
Following the war,
only 7 years from now.
Following the war and a righteous indignation, and use the terms, halabana and ha-chama. After the 7 days, Dode will get over it.
He will.
The bittersweetness will turn to joy when he takes on his bride.
He will. She's going to be beautiful, and she's going to be bright, and she's going to be dressed in stars, and he's going to come back as brilliant as the sun, and it's going to be a beautiful wedding, and then a honeymoon during Sukkah, and we're all going to be there to celebrate. It's going to be a great occasion. When you have God attend your wedding, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of something, I just want to do a shout out.
Yes.
To Shannon and Mary,
Call
the Next Witness. Congratulations.
I'm pretty certain. I can't swear to it, but when Shannon was here and he would talk about the people that he met as he went around the country, And there was, and I didn't pay attention to all the names. There's so many names of people he met, but he kept on mentioning this one woman that he said, boy, it was really a nice time that I had with her. And you could see that he was kind of longing to get back to that position, that he saw maybe there was something there. And so when I saw your reveal, I'd say, yeah, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And my response is that there is very often a reward in doing the right thing for the right reason. He was out, engaged, doing the right thing for the right reason. And in his case, look at the joy that it brought to both of them. But, if you're not out, engaged, being supportive, how would that have ever happened?
Right.
He made that happen because he was willing to travel the country and meet people, and he gave everybody gifts and was supportive and loves you and wanted to talk, and that is why that lovely romance developed. So my response was well earned, actually. It was well earned. He earned that response, and you can tell that he's really happy. And it's such a good, genuinely nice, good man. I think he's deserving of that, and she's deserving of it. And of course, I'm going to speak more about him than I do of her because I've met him. He's took the energy to come here. He brought Cara to us. He's somebody that I genuinely know. I've spent time with. We've had meals together, long conversations together, and he's genuine. He's just a really, really devoted, fine man, and he is somebody very special because he overcame the greatest heartache in life, and he's turned that heartache into something really positive, as motivation. And now to see him in a situation where he's found love, that's beautiful. You want to talk about a positive witness? That's a positive witness.
Yeah. And so thank you, Matt, and thank you, Kevin, for the way you presented it.
Yeah, I love it, the way that she went green, like, he's going to say something that she's not comfortable with, and they find out they're actually in the same place, and she comes over to the couch and they give a kiss, and that was really it was a nice reveal. Yeah, worth seeing. A delightful moment. Thank you for bringing it up, Jeff. Thank you for being part of that, Kevin. It was lovely. Well, thank you, Perry. Perry has been driving the show. Rich has come back. He has been in his condo. They have not had internet until today, so now he is part of the real world. He has got internet in his condo, so he's playing with gas, and he's back on the job now that Perry is. Has successfully run the show, and he found out, he's done a good job of teaching Perry to do this. And now our Perry job is, Perry has a beast down in the basement that is a really powerful computer, and we're going to teach that beast to read our books and then to create an AI. And have Joe integrate the speech and the AI and the avatar with the page turning books, and that is our project right now. So wish us luck. I'll continue to work on NOAC. I just can't get out of it because every statement is a new learning lesson, and I can't bear reading something from the Torah and not sharing what it means, because everybody wants to talk about the nonsense of what happens, and no one pays any attention to what really is there that are the life lessons. And there are many in that whole story, and it just goes on because the story of the flood goes right into this meeting with Yahweh, Shem, and Noach with Abraham and Sarah, and then it goes right into the episode of Sodom, and then that group all moves to the witness on Mount Moriah with the dress rehearsal for Passover. So it's such a beautiful story. All right, so that's where we're headed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We got a full 2 hours in on the vlog. Always good to have you, Dr. Jeff. You're a great contributor and a great friend. And thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Perry, for being the assistant king of the cables, prince of the cables. Thank you very much. Bye.
Shalom.
Hey there.